This is Gary Guyman with the Dominate the Day podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to help you get 1% better in your business, provide clarity, and give you some ideas that will help you grow your business. If you're ready to dominate the day, let's go.
Dominate the day, that's what we're about to do. If you don't want to dominate, then this podcast ain't for you. But if you are, then keep listening, cause every single damn day, the mission is to dominate. You already know we're here to dominate the day. So if you want to dominate every day, then let's go, it's time to grow. This is another episode of Dominate the Day.
What's going on, Dominate Nation? It's Gary Guyman with DMN8 Partners. I'm here with the Dominate the Day podcast. Hopefully, you're ready to roll today and you're ready to dominate the day. As I've been doing the past couple of weeks, I'm sure you've realized this if you're watching. We switched up our formats and you're not just hearing my boring ass 5 days a week. Now I'm bringing on some friends a couple days a week to get their insights, find out how they're dominating in their business, and maybe provide some tips to you to help you do just that, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you dominate the day. So today I have an individual that I met in a mastermind that we were in together, and this guy is first of all, if you're watching this on video on YouTube, you can tell the dude loves some cigars, so we're instant friends. I haven't talked to him about his either love for tequila or bourbon, but I mean, if a dude smokes a cigar, there's got to be one of those. So we're probably brothers from another mother and just don't know it. But today I have James King Baskin. I'm going to introduce him right now, and then I'll get in his bio in just a second. But James, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thank you for having me on, Gary.
So, James is in a space that I love. James is in the telemarketing space. He runs Outsource Kings, which is a contractor lead follow-up and appointment setting company that helps assist busy contractors and busy owners. He operates out of both Colombia and the Philippines. I'm sure he does that so he can get overseas and get some of that good tobacco. He basically helps contractors either have a dedicated employee managed team, or they can use James' team to manage lead calling. He has a book available on Amazon on how to do it yourself and hire your own appointment setter. His charity supports children in Colombia and the Philippines. All around good dude. And James, let's talk about using the phone to make some money. The best way, in my opinion, wouldn't you say?
Yep. Picking up the phone is where most people fall off, and it's where most of the money's at.
Yeah. So if you had to guess, regular contractor, let's say we talk about a roofer, right? We're talking about a roofing company. Let's say he's got a couple salespeople, 5. Decent size operation, but it's still not big enough to where he's hands off. He's in control, he's in the field, he's selling, he's doing all that stuff, right? Let's say those 5 salespeople, along with himself, let's say they're working 50 leads a month, which probably a little high for a roofer, but I want to use numbers that I can multiply and divide easily. Okay, so we'll say 50. What percentage of those do you think are getting missed because him or his team aren't doing adequate follow-up?
So 50 leads per guy or 50 leads total?
For the company, yeah.
Yeah, so if I had to guess a percentage, I'm willing to bet it's more than half. And
really? That high?
I think there's a lot of factors that are happening besides just no phone call ever made. So I have data on this, but I don't have an exact number for you. But case-by-case scenario, and this is a difficult conversation we've had to have with roofers over the years, because we've scheduled their appointments, and what happens is their sales guys will cherry-pick the appointments, and we actually found out they weren't going to certain appointments. So imagine you're the business owner, you're paying thousands of dollars for internet marketing leads or direct mail or telemarketing, whatever kind of lead you have, and then imagine your sales guy is like, oh yeah, they no-showed. Meanwhile, you've got me, the telemarketing company that's doing the lead calling, appointment setting, and then we do confirmation calls. And we started having people calling back that were saying, "Hey, you guys confirmed my appointment. No one ever showed up." And then they started going to the Facebook page saying, "Hey, no one ever came to my house, but they called me." And so I said to myself, what happened here? And so that's one factor that's probably the smaller percent. And I don't know what percentage of that varies on the company.
Yeah.
And then based on the sales guys, I'm willing to bet there's probably 20 to 30% that happened there. And then the other 10 to 20% is sales guys not going to appointments and then not following up on people that they did meet with, right? They say the fortune's in the follow up. Everyone always thinks of, well, the lead got generated, that's the follow up. Well, what about after you see the person and the little old lady says, "Hey, I'm waiting on the insurance check. I'm meeting with 5 other roofers." Well, what we found out was most of the roofers, they would put it in their pipeline quoted and they never followed up with that person. And so that would probably be responsible for even more than 10%. So and now obviously there's always leads that are not going to be interested and not going to be good and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I'm willing to bet it's around 35 to 50% total that encompass salespeople not showing up. Never called back the people that said, "Hey, can you follow up with me next week?" They never followed up with that person, or they never even called the lead.
Yeah.
And a lot of marketers do audits on their clients, and they just find millions of dollars of missed sales. And so that's kind of where I'm arriving at that number.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you think about, cost of a roof, and if a roofing company has a 50, let's say they got a 30% close rate, 25% close rate, something like that. Five potential jobs at a minimum that they're leaving on the 100 grand in revenue. Like,
Yep. $10,000 to $15,000 for the roof, depending on what kind.
Yeah. I mean, that could extrapolate easily to $1 million a year just because somebody isn't doing their job. And I was thinking it was going to be a big number. Didn't think it could potentially get to 7 figures. But I mean, if you're running that kind of operation, and just think about the companies that's even bigger, that number is probably even more incredible. And I get it. Like when you're a single operator, you go out and you try to get everything that you can. You're being aggressive. You're doing that. But as you begin to expand your operation and you have other people that are touching leads, like unless you have a series of checks in place and you're going back and inspecting that, like you're not going to know. And that's where a company like yours comes in,
We had a call with a guy out in Chicago, a roofer, and this was probably one of the more difficult calls. We were setting appointments. He was working with us and the marketer, and we informed him of all these jobs that were saying no one ever showed up. And he was like, "Well, this is a pretty crappy day." And I said, "Well, what's up?" He said, "I got to fire my best friend." And I said, wow. He said, "My best friend's not going to the appointments. I gave this guy a job. I gave him a shot to work with me. He complains about the stuff, says that he wants to be door knocking." And I didn't ask him this, but I started thinking about it. If that salesperson's on salary, what incentive do they have to work hard? Of course they want to door knock. They can hang out at McDonald's all day and be like, "Oh yeah, I set a couple appointments." You know what I mean? Yeah. Versus having to work an internet lead that's costing a couple $100 an appointment, and you're having to spend $7,000 plus advertising costs, with a marketer.
Right.
And it sucks because whenever we find that problem, I know for a fact that they're going to cancel my service. They're not going to just be like, "Oh, great, can you schedule more appointments for me that my salespeople won't show up on?"
Right.
They're not going to do that. Yeah. They're going to cancel with me. And so I'd rather just bring it to awareness now that that's happening with salespeople in the home services space.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a little bit different than I normally do. We usually talk about past history, stuff like that, but this is a really good conversation in terms of the opportunity that's left on the table, or we call it the opportunity cost, that kind of thing. But as an entrepreneur, like there's a lot of lessons we learn throughout the journey, and obviously, opportunity cost is definitely one of them. What would you say in terms of you personally? What's the biggest lesson you've learned from being an entrepreneur? or the biggest takeaway from being an entrepreneur?
Wow, that's a really good question. Biggest takeaway from being an entrepreneur: when things get hard, not to quit. When things get hard in your industry, whatever industry you're in, and if it's across the board, like it's a hard thing that everyone's dealing with, if you don't quit, you're going to be the one to go to, because all the people that were getting paid or getting rich when things were easy, they quit when things get hard. So when things get hard, not quitting and pushing forward, as much as it sucks, because when you quit, the story's over. The video game is unplugged from the system. But like, if you keep pushing, regardless of it, how hard it is, you will win, and that there's more success when things get hard.
Dominate the day, that's what we're about to do. If you don't wanna dominate, then this podcast ain't for you. But if you are, then keep listening, cause every single damn day, the mission is to dominate. You already know we're here to dominate the day. So if you wanna dominate every day, then let's go, it's time to grow. This is another episode of Dominate the Day.